And we are live here from Glynn Smith Chevrolet GMC, Thrift, Barringer, Richard Holdridge. It's Georgia, Alabama Sports Live Show, as we do every single month. And we literally waited to the very last day of March to come here, but we are so excited. Thank you again to Glynn Smith Chevrolet GMC, Jerry Potter, and the rest of the staff for allowing us to come up here every single month and being one of our presenting sponsors. And, man, it's been a while since we've done a show. When was the last time we did a show, Rich?
It was like at the beginning of February, so it's all...
No, I'm talking about last time we did a show on Georgia, Alabama Sports Live. I think we did one last Wednesday.
Yeah.
Did we do one then? I don't even remember. It's been such a whirlwind.
I think it was last Wednesday. I know we did the Lions show, but, yeah, I think it was last Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, if it wasn't last Wednesday, we haven't done one in quite some time. So we got a lot to update you on. High school baseball standings. We're going to talk about what happened. What the heck happened with the Lions this past weekend? We also talked River Dragons, who just look like a shell of themselves right now as they're getting ready and amped up for the playoff season. And then, of course, we'll end it with some college basketball, the Auburn Tigers in the Final Four, which I'm super excited about. A little NBA talk, and we'll get out of here with what we're going to be doing the rest of this week and where we're going to be at tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock for a special media day for a team that has brought a lot of noise and a lot of recognition to the city of Columbus. We'll talk about that soon. Thank you to Pepsi. Thank you to Kinetic Credit Union. And, of course, Gordy Eye Care. Richard, what a week last week. We had a lot of baseball games we were able to do. We were busy with that, CVCC, and enjoyed being able to broadcast some games, man.
It was nonstop Monday to Saturday. I did not have a day off. I was calling a game every single day. There was even a game where I called two games in one day. And that's what we do at Georgia, Alabama Sports Live. We just want to give you the coverage that these local student athletes deserve. And even though Alabama was on spring break last week, Georgia on spring break this week, still got some games. Even some Muskogee County schools they're going to be playing. And then the Alabama schools getting back. We got area play for Glenwood, Smith Station, Central. I mean, it's a great time to be a sports fan. And not just the local sports, but, of course, we got March Madness, Major League Baseball, everything going on. The Masters.
And Braves fans already freaking out. It's 0-4. By the
Relax.
way, Atlanta started 0-4 in 2021, and they end up winning the World Series. Who cares?
Worked out for them.
You got 162 games. All right, as Richard made mention, we did a lot of baseball games last week, which included Stars Mill and Northside and Harris County and Central Carroll. The reason I brought that up because in that division before last week, all four of those teams were undefeated in the standings. And we're going to start with high school baseball. And how about the Northside Patriots taking 2 of 3, both of them on the road against the defending champion Stars Mill. And then for Harris County, they came up just short of taking 2 of 3. They lost in a heartbreaker in Game 2. They won Game 1 in thrilling fashion, and they lost Game 3 down to the wire. Rick Beach did a great job. Kudzu Sports, of course, on Georgia, Alabama Sports Live. But I still think this division's up for grabs. Right now, Central Carroll and Northside both tied for the division lead. But I promise you, do not count out Harris County and Stars Mill. Central Carroll and Northside. By the way, after spring break, Richard, Harris County and Northside played 3-game series. 2 of the 3 will be in the county. What can you say about this division? And more specifically, how about the job Tracy Powell did in year 1? Yeah. Has Northside as a top 10 team in 4A.
17-5, 11-1. They were supposed to play Glenwood today, but that got rained out. They're going to play Shaw tomorrow.
Which I was looking forward to that.
I really was. That would have been just a great game. It is a non-region game. It wouldn't have mattered, and they, as far as it really just pride. But Northside's focused on playing Harris County next week. That's going to be a massive 3-game series. 2 of those games are going to be at Northside, and then they will take on Central of Carroll. So
Stars Mills, by the way, takes on Central Carroll this week.
Yeah,
so these
I
next
noticed
2
that.
weeks, we could even have more movers than shakers. All 4 teams are going to make the playoffs. All 4 teams, I think, are going to make a deep playoff run. And the biggest thing, too, when looking at a team like Harris County, they're young. A lot of their best players are underclassmen. They'll be Tony Dimitri's team will have a state championship team. If not this year, because they could get hot, definitely in the future.
Remember, that freshman class was part of that 2022 team that were 2 games away from going to Williamsport. And then you got an 8th grade class that's right after them that went to the Southeast Regional. It was a great stretch for Harris County Little League in 2022 and 2023. And you're starting to see that 4 years later in the high school level, starting with, the coach's son, Cade Dimitri. He was a big-time pitcher on ESPN in the Southeast Regional back in 2022. And he's one of Coach Dimitri's top starters. And he's only a freshman.
Exactly. I can't wait to see how that region plays out. By the way, we will get Harris County and Northside both this week. We're supposed to get Northside Glenwood. Got canceled. Not really. There's no pressure into trying to reschedule that game.
They already played each other.
They already played each other, and it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. But moving towards who Northside plays tomorrow, Shaw at 2 p.m. And then on Friday, you follow Harris County doubleheader. So we're going to get both of them before their big 3-game series, which we're going to get all 3 games next week. Another team I want to talk about is the Glenwood Gators. Now, we didn't get them at all last week. They did play, but they were on spring break, and they played against teams like Gardendale, Talladega, Siloam Springs, and Richmond Burton. They dominated all those games. They're now 19-3 on the year, undefeated in region play. Throw the Northside game out. They got Columbus tomorrow at home, and then a huge, I'm talking about massive, 4-game series against Lee Scott. They got to play Lee Scott April the 2nd. Then they got to play doubleheader against Lee Scott April 3rd, and then they'll play Lee Scott again on April the 4th. And if not, it probably should be a 3-game. On Max Preps, it says 4. Either way, they got a doubleheader on Friday. We'll be there for Lee Scott, 17-7, also undefeated in region play. And remember last year's state championship battle,
went down to the wire.
Went down to a best of 3, and Glenwood ended up winning that. So I know you're excited about that coming up on Friday. But how about the Glenwood Gators? They have been the best team in our area by far. They're the number 1 team in the state, and they're one of the top teams in all classifications, and they're even getting some notoriety nationally as well, Richard. If you look at the rankings, according to Max Preps, they're ranked 10th in the state of Alabama. Excuse me, and I had this pulled up. 10th in the state of Alabama, 2nd in the 3A, and then, of course, number 1 in our classification, and then they're ranked in the top 50 nationally. You've called a few Glenwood games. What can you say about the Gators?
Well, they got the 1-2 combination in the starting rotation of Tyler Sykes and Mason McCrane. But Mason McCrane is already a 5-tool player that's at the top of the lineup, leading the team in home runs. And I would say he's their second best starting pitcher. I mean, Tyler Sykes has got the big time experience, but it's 1-2. It's Kurt Schilling, it's Randy Johnson. It's going to be hard to beat Glenwood is in a best-of-3 series when you're pitching Tyler Sykes and Mason McCrane. And then you also have Logan Henderson. You also have Nick Torres. You've got some arms just in case. I mean, you get to a long series. But I think this Glenwood Gators team has been battle-tested, and they are built to make a deep run in the 3A playoffs.
I think that's a great point, Richard. And it's the pitching depth, like with Sykes and the Hudson Campbell who's come on, Nick Torres. You made mention this Glenwood team is loaded. Another team that you're very familiar with, Richard, who's ranked number 3 on our rankings is the Brookstone Cougars. Have not lost a GIAA game going back to last year. And if you look at their schedule, they are 13-2. Their 2 losses are to at Lakeside School 4-2, and then at Central. They swept St. Anne Pacelli, they smoked Shaw, and they took care of business against Columbus. I was there with you on that one last Thursday. They play in a spring break against Port St. Joe and Chipley,
Right.
So they're on the road during this week, and then they come back a 3-game series against Westfield, and then the mega one. And they'll be playing on the opening day of the Clingstones against Calvary Christian School. Cannot wait. Those are the best 2 teams in this region. What can you say about the Cougars, and more specifically, Chanu Kim, who is probably, if we were to give a Cy Young for this area, I would say it had to go to him right now, right?
Yeah, there's no question. Chanu Kim has been the most consistent and best pitcher when it comes to stats as well. You look at his stats, he's got a .58 earned run average. That is incredible. He's got over 40 strikeouts. Chinu Kim, who's got 5 wins, has been the most consistent pitcher. And then to top it all off, if you need somebody to close a game, Brandon Neal, who's pitched 18 innings, has not given up a run. And he's got 28 strikeouts.
He
So
may be the best relief pitcher.
yeah, that could possibly be the best relief pitcher because look at his strikeouts with the amount of innings. He's striking out 2 batters per inning. I mean, that is incredible. And then Mercer Hudson, 5-tool player, top of the lineup, leading the team in home runs. It kind of reminds me of Ronald Acuna Jr. Your top power hitter is at the top of the lineup. And then Brennan Neal likes to steal bases. Luke Lowry. They've got the Jones brothers. They're not really brothers, but Maxwell Jones and Gray Jones.
Yeah.
They have really been on fire. Maxwell Jones, he got his batting average well above. Like he was off to a slow start, got his batting average up to about 240, and then Gray Jones. What can you say about having 5 RBIs in one game? Maxwell Jones 4 RBIs. They've been padding the stats, and Brookstone has been on fire.
They're deep, and I love what Greg Mathis has, and I think he has a team that's going to go back to back. Again, they're playing Chipley and Port St. Joe this week because they are on spring break. Another team, Central, they're 20-7. They have played 27 games so far. They are ranked number 5 in the state in 7A. They are top 15 in regardless of classifications. And Richard, they have not lost a game since Benjamin Russell and lost to Vestavia Hills. They've beaten Pike Road, Walnut Ridge, and then of course Normal Community last week. This week at a big 3-game series, they're going to area play now. They got Auburn this week, Smith Station next week, and then the final week, Opelika. I expect fully with Sam Brown leading the area in home runs, who has just had a sensational senior season. Emery Yon, I think, is one of the best leadoff hitters in baseball. You got the Freeburg brothers that have also been really good. I like this team. I've seen them several times. I saw them beat Brookstone. I saw them beat Calvary. Saw that epic game against Glenwood. They also beat Northside. Give me Central back in the semifinal state championship run under Coach Kehoe.
Yeah, 2 appearances in the state championship, winning it all 3 years ago. Coach A.J. Kehoe not only has got a great staff, but he's got a team that has been battle-tested. And we now get into area play. Remember, this is the rematch of the semifinals last year. They're taking on Auburn that first 3-game series, and then taking on Smith Station, who Smith Station has been hot as of late. And then Opelika is having a very good season. Their head coach is a former assistant at Central. So Coach Kehoe's going to get his bunch ready. But I tell you, I've been impressed with Sam Brown. I've been trying to track the home run leaders in our area. Right now, Sam Brown is head and shoulders above everybody else as far as he's got 8 home runs on the season. I think Mason McCrane is close to Sam Brown. So they're probably neck and neck about we're calling the great Chattahoochee Valley home run chase.
We're in the home run great race, and I know if anyone is going to keep up with that, it's
going to be me. Yeah, it's
a stat man himself. Will pull it out of anywhere. By the way, Brookstone, Calvary, Westville, Strong Rock, and Pacelli all in the same region. Pacelli 1-5, 8-11. I don't expect Pacelli to make the playoffs this year. It's going to be tough when they got off to a decent start. But
a young team.
They're a young team. Case Rasmussen, his first season.
Yeah,
it's going to take some time, but. Calvary 4-2, got a big win over Shaw. They go and play in a spring break tournament this week. You talked to Steve Smith in the Calvary Coaches Show last week. They play Lincoln Way West, Homewood, Flossmoor, Coffee, Lincoln Way East as well. So they play 4 games this week, Richard.
Coach Smith did mention it's not on the schedule that they're going to play Redan, which is a 2A school.
So 5 games.
So, yeah, they're ranked number 10 in the 2A rankings. In Max Prep. So
that would be, and then they have Shaw, Russell County, and then that's when they play Brookstone and Pacelli to end the season. They are 4-2 in region play, and I think they got still their best ball ahead of them. With the addition of Wilkinson, Tommy Irving, who's been sensational, the bats are going to start coming along. He's made mention it's been the defense that's really hurt them some games.
It has.
And the reason why they have 6 losses so far, but he thinks with a tough schedule, this team will be experienced and better than maybe even last year's team was by the end of the year. And listen, I don't ever disagree with anyone as smart as Steve Smith. So I think Calvary's going to be fine. I know a little bit slow start compared to years past, but Calvary's going to be right there in the thick of things in the end.
Thrift, I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a little bit about Calvary Christian. Now, they're ranked number 4 according to Max Preps, but every Monday, Coach's Box Georgia comes out with their poll. And I always go on that Facebook page I eagerly wait to see what the top 10 is for the GIAA classification for 4A and 3A. And once again, Calvary's not ranked. And now I've made a big spill about it before. I'm kind of being quiet. But Calvary is proving, taking 2 out of 3 against Strong Rock
But
was
who does those rankings?
coaches. So
This is a coaches being disrespectful and not thanking Calvary, who came from the Gaps, is a program that has been, they think, a little bit overrated. And I don't know, they obviously didn't watch Calvary, and maybe this is a little bit of like, I wouldn't say animosity, but like, hey, you didn't play in the toughest league, play in the Gaps. We're not going to give you respect. If you watch Calvary, Calvary's not only been the best team in the Gaps, they've been one of the best teams in our area, and we got a bunch of good baseball teams in our area. So I think you're right on that, and I'm not going to sit here and listen. Everybody is entitled to have their own rankings, but that doesn't mean I got to put any stock into them. And I don't put any stock into people that don't watch and do their research before putting these rankings out. We do. I promise you that before we do these rankings, we make sure we look at record. We make sure we see the teams that we rank. That's why we don't go outside of our jurisdiction. We don't go outside of our coverage area yet, because we want to give you the best insight possible when we do our rankings. I don't feel like others are doing that. And I know it's tough when you're trying to rank every team in the state. I would not recommend that to anyone. But if you are going to do it, do the necessary measures to make sure your list or rankings are respectable. That one, do not respect. Let me tell you what I do respect, though, Richard, and that is the Jordan Red Jackets. I'm bringing them up because they beat Hardaway. You were there for that.
Oh, yeah.
They are
Great
tied right now for Columbus for the lead in the 2A Region 1 classification of Georgia. Both 9-1, and they're going to be facing off against each other at Columbus later this month. Shaw right behind them at 8-2, and then Hardaway at 5-4. I think all 4 of those teams make the playoffs. But how about the Jordan Red Jackets and Coach David Lang having a chance to win the region? Wow, that would be pretty incredible.
First of all, I am thankful for Georgia Alabama Sports Live and our flex scheduling, because we did not have it on the schedule, but we felt that's a big game we needed to do. Hardaway Jordan on Friday. I was on the call. Hardaway took the 1-0 lead. Hardaway just likes to steal bases. They play small ball. That's how they manufacture runs. They take the 1-0 lead going into the 5th inning. Jordan puts up 1 in the 5th to tie it. They put 1 in the 6th to take a 2-1 lead. And what a absolute performance as far as pitching goes for the Jordan Red Jackets. And I'm trying to remember. Cade Evans. He's a leading home run leader, but it was really Bradley Smith. Incredible, set a complete game.
Wow. We saw
one
him
hitter.
Media Day,
he was at Baseball Media Day. Cade Evans is their leading home run leader. He's got 2 on the year. The job that Coach Lane is doing is just been fantastic. They've made the playoffs the last 2 seasons, and Jordan has been looking fantastic. 13-5 overall, 14-4 overall. Max Reps needs to update, and then 10-1, tied with Columbus, headed for a showdown with the Columbus Blue Devils.
I cannot wait to be able to see that. And you know we're going to be there.
Oh yeah, we're going to be there.
2 of the most historic schools in our area. All right, that's our high school baseball standings update. We'll have a soccer one on Wednesday that I can't wait to get into, Richard. We need a little bit more time to do research on that, one sport at a time. But we're going to take a break. When we come back from break, we're actually going to talk about the Lions. What the heck just happened to the Lions? And then we're going to talk about the River Dragons, who have just not been playing real good hockey as of late. And then plus March Madness and more. It's the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show from Glynn Smith Chevrolet GMC that has over 500 new and used cars on the lot today. Go to glennsmith.com. That is glennsmith.com. And what do we always say, Richard?
Get ready to smile.
We'll be right back after this. You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this. We love being able to go to the different high school, colleges, middle schools to live broadcast sporting events around the area. Georgia Alabama Sports Live appreciates all the fan support, but without a presenting sponsor like Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC in Opelika, none of this would be possible. So we want to say thank you so much. Go to glennsmith.com. That is right, glennsmith.com. See all the inventory and see why people always say, get ready to smile. Thanks, everyone, and thank you to Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC for being our presenting sponsor.
Hi, my name is Griff Gordy, And here at Gordy Eye Care, we have been serving the Bi-City community for 17 years. As a former state championship quarterback, I love the fact that I can watch local high school athletics from the comfort of my own home. So it was a no-brainer to support Georgia-Alabama Sports Live and what they do for young athletes in our area.
And without business like yourself, Gordy Eye Care, none of our coverage would be possible to be able to cover these 16 different high schools, the local colleges, and professional teams. So we'd like to say thank you to you, Dr. Griff Gordy, and Gordy Eye Care for your support of Georgia-Alabama Sports Live. And you can make an appointment today at Gordy Eye Care with the number 334-291-5125. Keep supporting Gordy Eye Care and keep watching Georgia-Alabama Sports Live.
Even though I'm away at college, Kinetic Credit Union is still the best way for me to stay connected here and at home. With the Kinetic mobile app, I have control of my accounts wherever I go. I can easily transfer money between internal and external accounts, get money faster by setting up recurring transfers, and I can find the nearest ATM or branch right from my phone. Plus, I can add my Kinetic cards to my phone's digital wallet and enjoy quick, secure, contactless payments. By the way, Mom, I need some more money.
Kinetic Credit Union, the energy for your dreams.
Here to Glynn Smith Chevrolet GMC, and we are live as we continue on, Big Rich. And let's talk about those Columbus Lions. So they played Carolina Cobras, who they beat 25-0 the previous week. 2-0, have not lost a game in over 3 years. And it just from the very beginning did not look like the same Lions team that we've seen. Offensively, kind of sputtered a couple times in the first half. Got it within striking distance, but never had any kind of claim on the game. It was really dominated from start to finish, especially towards the latter half of that second half. And that's back-to-back second halves that the Lions have come out struggling, Richard. 6 points the previous week, only 7 points this week, or I don't think they scored this past week. Losing by 20 like they did to Carolina, that's a wake-up call. And that's for everyone out there saying that, hey, do the Lions play in a tough league? Yes, they do. Lions play in a much better league. Still think they are the best team, but that was a kind of a wake-up call to, hey, guys, you can be beat in this game and beat in this league. Losing to Carolina like that, very surprising. They have at least about a month off before they play Beaumont on April the 18th back at home. But very eye-opener we just saw this past weekend, Richard.
You're not going to win many games when you fumble the kickoff 3 times. They were already down 14-0 before they could touch the ball. That's asking a lot of your quarterback. And Marcus Brooks, he just did not look himself. I mean, he was great at home when he had protection. But I think it's a different story when you go on the road. I mean, it might be fatigue. The O-line, it might be a second step slower because of the home crowd and being on the road. And that could be the difference, trying to give the ball out of the hands of Marcus Brooks and into the hands of his receivers, Demisho Ewing, Jarmon Forza. I mean, they did take the 20-14 lead going into the half, but then another turnover and some blunders, and exactly. Carolina was able to run away with it.
But that's, again, second straight game in the second half. The Lions only scored 6 points in the last 2 second halves. That cannot happen, and that's why they lost 40-20. And Carolina, give them credit, made the adjustments, came out playing better football. So they got Beaumont April the 18th, then at Colorado April 26th, at Carolina again.
They get a rematch.
May 3rd, Shreveport at home May 10th, at Beaumont May 17th, at Wheeling May 24th, and then they end the season May 31st, Wheeling at home. But how about those Columbus Lions, man? As they go to 2-1 on the year. And I know many people are talking about how the offense struggled, but I promise you that team, Marcus Brooks, they'll be back clicking all cylinders when they come back. They needed it. They played 3 straight weeks. They going on the road for the first time in a hostile environment, things that they probably weren't used to. They haven't done in a couple of years. So got out of their system. I think all is fine. Nobody needs to freak out if you're the Lions or cheering for the Lions, and they'll be back in the win column. I'm sure of that as they take on Beaumont. So if you look at the standings now, Richard, in the NAL, Beaumont still undefeated, Carolina 2-1, Lions 2-1, followed by Shreveport and Wheeling in the American division. In the National division, Omaha Beef now 3-0. So Omaha Beef looks like the team, Richard, that is going to be maybe who Columbus is going to play in a championship, but they got to get through Carolina and Beaumont too.
Absolutely.
In that league. What have you seen so far in the NAL, Rich?
Well, I've seen the Columbus Lions that have been battle tested against the Carolina Cobras, who we're familiar with in the NAL. I mean, yeah, I don't take anything from that game against Peach State because they are not an NAL team. And when you're facing these elite NAL teams, you got to put Columbus there with them, but they made way too many mistakes. And I was watching this game on YouTube, and it was they had their chances. They went for it on fourth down a couple times, and they did not get it. They were down 26-20. It's just that turnover, and then Carolina kept piling it on, and the score does not reflect how close that game was because Carolina had got that late touchdown.
Yeah, but turnovers is.
But the turnovers killed the Lions, and that's something I know Coach Daniels is going to go back to the drawing board. They have got to clean up the turnovers. They cannot fumble the kickoff 3 times. I mean, you're not going to win any games if you do that.
No, absolutely not. And by the way, the Lions again haven't lost, and the last time they lost a game
was to Carolina in 2022.
Was to Carolina in 2022. All right, let's move on from the Lions, Richard, and let us go and talk about the Columbus River Dragons. All right, I'm going to let you take this one, Richard. Not a great past weekend. They got 5 games left on the road for a 3-game series at Monroe and against Baton
Hudson
Rouge.
Valley, yeah.
Yeah,
they're about to take
Rouge.
Baton Rouge, but
and then they take on Athens Rock Lobsters to end the season. What do you want to see from this team? What do you got to say about them so far as we are about to head into the playoffs? Kind of limping in right now, Richard. Not looking good. And if you look at the last several games, they have Poughkeepsie took advantage of them.
Yeah, or Hudson
2 out of
Valley.
3. Yeah.
I think they're in Poughkeepsie, but they're called Hudson Valley Vipers.
Yep.
That was one of the worst teams in the Empire Division that they were facing. When I previewed this 3-game series, I said they need to win all 3 games because there's really no way they're going to be catching Athens now, which, by the way, they had just an incredible weekend. They had a sellout of over 5,000 fans. Athens has really been the talk of the league. Just coming in. They have a lot of SPHL players. But this River Dragons team is not playing consistent, and they are limping into the playoffs. Still going to make the playoffs, but right now, you got the Blue Ridge Bobcats that are 9 points. I don't think Blue Ridge is going to catch them. I think that Columbus is going to be locked into that 3 seed, but you're going to end up playing Carolina on the road because Athens just took over as the number 1 seed. I mean, that's the great season that Athens had, of winners of 3 straight, 8 out of their last 10, and just not a good weekend for Columbus. They did salvage that Sunday afternoon game, winning that, but yeah, they almost got swept out of the Civic Center this past week. And there were rumblings from River Dragons fans. Now, I get it. River Dragons fans are very passionate. They love the River Dragons, but I've been looking at the message boards. They were not happy. I can understand. But if there's anybody that could figure this out, it's Coach Jerome Boom Boom Bouchard, who is a Hall of Famer,
but maybe
a
this
developer
is what they
of talent.
Need. Maybe
They really need this.
Finish the season out strong, Richard, and maybe, just maybe, they get hot and win a championship.
Yeah, they're still going to make the playoffs.
Again, I go back to last year. No matter how great that regular season was, they lost in the. They didn't make it to the championship match.
Yeah, they had home ice last year,
and they conference or their division championship.
And they lost to Carolina last year.
So I think. Again, you don't want to be limping into the playoffs, but
no, not at all.
You don't want to be playing your best hockey in the middle of the season, which didn't happen this year either. So,
by the way, I do want to give a shout out. Congratulations, Tom Callahan, calling your 1,300 hockey game. What a milestone for Tom Callahan, one of the best in this area. As far as I can't do what Tom Callahan does. I love play-by-play. I could never do play-by-play for hockey. No. I just don't know the game. But Tom does a phenomenal job. I love listening to Tom Callahan on the broadcast.
I do too. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back from break, we're going to wrap it up with some – I just lost my train of thought.
Unlisted hot sports take. Yeah. How about that?
March Madness. We're going to talk about that right here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show.
You're watching right now the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Introducing Gatorade Water. Alkaline and electrolyte infused for great taste. Gatorade Water, always in motion.
Welcome to the Campus Academy Private School, where every student is celebrated for their individuality. With personalized curriculum, students unlock their potential, growing into confident learners. At the Campus Academy, we give teachers the freedom to create dynamic classrooms where every student's voice is heard. Discover the difference. Enroll your child today and watch them thrive.
Georgia-Alabama. Sports Live will be your go-to for all your favorite high school and collegiate games this fall. From the Carver Tigers to the Columbus Blue Devils, the Harris County Tigers and Northside Patriots, the Glenwood Gators and Calvary Christian Knights, the Pacelli Vikings and Brookstone Cougars, to the Smith Station Panthers and Russell County Warriors, from CVCC, Pirates basketball and baseball, and every tournament from here to Macon. We are the #1 destination for anything happening in East Alabama and West Central Georgia. Be sure to like and follow us on YouTube and Facebook, and stay tuned for even more amazing ways we will be bringing Georgia-Alabama Sports Live to you this upcoming season. We can't wait to come see you next.
Welcome back, everyone, to Unsolicited Hot Take from Glynn Smith Chevrolet GMC. Thrift Barringer, Richard Holdridge. Shout out to Nathan Fleury, who's watching right now. We will have, hopefully, a Columbus Lions show later on this week. We're going to talk about, Nathan, we talked about the Lions, how, again, made some uncharacteristic mistakes. Lions are going to be back on the right track, I promise you. And that was kind of a wake-up call. I think the Lions needed that. They haven't really had that type of adversity in a couple years. Now you have it. You see it. You know you got what to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. And we got no better leaders than Nathan Fleury, Casey Smith, and Damian Daniels to make sure the Lions are on the right track. And for anyone out there that says Lions are not playing in a tough league, this past weekend just proved that is not the case this year. You need to come to every single game because you're going to be in for a treat for some top-notch Arena League football. All right, Rich, NCAA March Madness. So 2019. Actually, I'm going to go further. I'm going to go back to 2003. I was 10 years old, Rich, 4th grade. My granddad picked me up in the car, and we listened on the ride home. Auburn upsetting, at the time, #2 seeded Wake Forest. Chris Paul was a point guard then, and this was when Cliff Ellis was the coach, and they had Marquise Daniels, who's now on the staff at Auburn.
Yeah.
Auburn made it to the Sweet 16. They were a 10 seed, barely got in. Many people thought they shouldn't have that year. They won the 7 seed against Gonzaga, and then they beat Wake Forest in the 2 seed. They ended up losing to eventual national champion Syracuse, but that's where really my love for college basketball started, and I kept up with every NCAA March Madness since then. But as a granddad playing at Auburn and Auburn being a big part of my family, never in my wildest dreams did I think Auburn basketball would get to the point it is at now. I was in those time period when I was going through high school all the way to college, I kept saying over and over again, Auburn just gets a consistent coach that just gets them in the tournament every couple years. I will be happy with that. They went 12 years without even sniffing the NCAA tournament, let alone now. They are one of the top 5 programs in the country the last 6 years. If you count the COVID year, 7 of the last 8 seasons, they've been in the NCAA tournament. 5 of the last 7 years, they've won 25 games or more. They got 3 regular season championships, 2 conference tournament championships, and now 2 Final Fours. In my opinion, seeing where Auburn basketball was, and I go back to that 03 year, Cliff Ellis, they fire him. They get Lebo. Lebo had 1 year of the NIT. Fire him to bring in the most atrocious coach in SEC history in Tony Barbie. He was literally, I can't stand that man. I want to throw up when I say his name. Horrible coach. Took Auburn back 30 years. Bruce Pearl comes in, and now he turned that program that was an afterthought, was a joke. Many people thought, like, why are they even in the SEC as a basketball program? They'd rather see Troy there. That's how bad it was, Richard. To now being a top 5 program in the country, it is the greatest reclamation project in the history of college basketball. And I put that up against anyone. Now, I know Krzyzewski's got more championships. I know John Wooden, Jim Calhoun, Dean Smith, Roy Williams, Bill Self, Rick Pitino, John. I know there are many that have won national championships. But did any of them ever take over a program that literally has never had any history of winning and been one of the worst programs before they took over a 5-year stretch? And I say all that to say I expected Auburn to be in the Final Four this year. As bad as their history has been, and I know Bruce Pearl wanted to play the underdog, they have been the most consistent team in the country except for the last 4 games of the regular season. They're playing great basketball, and unlike in 2019, Rich, that year I felt like, hey, you're happy you made it. You know, Chumo Kiki doesn't get hurt. Maybe Auburn cuts the nets down that year. They should have beat Virginia if they'd have called a travel. But Auburn fans were just happy they made it. They couldn't believe what they saw. That was even a bigger deal than winning a national championship, having your basketball team make it to a Final Four, given where the program came from. This year, it was expected. And I think that's the biggest thing I've seen from Bruce Pearl, is that now it is expected for Auburn to compete for national championships. I never thought 10 years ago when we hired this man that was ever going to be the case. I've been so impressed with them. And Auburn, 32 wins, most in program history, make it to the Final Four, and I've been impressed with this team all year long. I'll talk about what they did. I just want to talk about the bigger picture with Bruce Pearl. What an incredible career and what an incredible job he's done with this Auburn program.
I'm going to say, because I followed Auburn since the beginning of the season, that they were set up perfectly to win a championship this year because of all the fifth-year seniors they have with Janai Broom, with Chad Baker-Mazar, with Dylan Carwell. And then you have the freshman Tahad Pettiford, and then Denver Jones, Miles Kelly. This team is built to win a championship. But really what gets me, Thrift, they're the overall number 1 seed, and they're an underdog to Florida. How could that be? They actually have the worst odds out of all the number 1 seeds that are left in the Final Four.
That's where he wants it. So
you know what? I'm okay with that.
He's not complaining. I think it's disrespectful too.
I'm okay with that, but Auburn, I mean, look, if they don't win, I know that he is going to rebuild and get he's going to get the players to Auburn. But this is like the perfect storm for Auburn to win a title because of the senior leadership they have. And I don't know if they'll ever have this again because Janai Broom is leaving, Chad Baker-Mazar, but
Denver Jones, really the whole team's leaving.
The whole team except Todd Pettiford, maybe.
Which he may leave with what he put on the show.
Yeah.
But I want to say, the Creighton game was the game I was worried about more than Michigan or Michigan State.
I was kind of worried about Michigan there.
Janai Broom put on a show and showed why he should be National Player of the Year in that Michigan State, and why this team is different than the team 3 years ago that had Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler, is that they got guards that can take over games when needed. And that Michigan game, Janai Broom, he was literally carrying the load. They're down by 9, didn't look good. You can ask my girlfriend Natalie when I'm watching the game and beside myself, we're about to lose this game. I'm sick. I cannot believe this. Just make it to the Final Four. Come on, Auburn. You're better than this. And I was complaining about Todd Pettiford. I was like, how is this freshman? He should not be in the game. Turnovers, bad shots in the first half. Like, he has played terrible. Stop putting him in. And then it was the Todd Pettiford show. Him and Denver Jones scored 20 straight points. They went on a flurry and then went in the game by double digits. And then Janai Broom took over the game against Michigan State. He also put on a little bit of a show because I don't think he was as injured as he thought he was. And then coming back, it's like movie documentary-esque, hitting that 3 after many people thought he's saying, I'm done.
Unbelievable.
But what a job, though, by Auburn to win and take down Michigan. I was worried about. I thought Danny Wolf, who I'm telling you, sleep on him if you want, That guy's going to be a double-digit scorer and a good player on a good team in the NBA.
And he's
7 foot.
And he's been an Auburn killer. He was at Yale,
Yeah.
too. So I was worried. When Michigan was up by 9, I got worried.
But here's the problem. Auburn just kept running over and over and over again. And a guy that size that never came out the game, he just couldn't carry it, keep up. After he scored his 20th point, it just wore out and ran out of gas. And Auburn's depth came up big. Michigan State never worried about that.
I was never worried about that.
They never had a guy. And I know Jaden Atkins ended up scoring double digits, but he scored a lot of those points in mop-up duty time when the game was pretty much over with 2 minutes left. Never thought Michigan State was going to cause a problem for Auburn. I will say, with this Auburn team and Janai Broome taking on Condon and Florida, losing to them earlier in the year, I think gives the advantage to the Tigers. I also think this Florida team is not as good as everyone made them out to be. They almost lost to UConn if it wasn't for the heroics of Walter Clayton Jr., and they should have lost to Texas Tech down by 10 with 3 minutes ago. Again, Walton Clayton Jr. coming up big. Can he do it again against Auburn? I think Auburn's a little bit different animal. Plus, they are prepared and know how to play against them. But, man, what a matchup. And I think these have been the 4 best teams going into the tournament. These were the 4 best teams I thought should make it. The only team I thought that was not going to be in potentially was Tennessee. I thought they would be in over Houston. But everybody else, this is how I predicted the Final Four, Richard. And Auburn, Florida should be a fantastic one on Saturday.
Yeah, and I'm also looking forward to Duke and Houston because you got 2 contrasting styles. You got Houston that's completely committed to defense, L.J. Cryer, and then, of course, with Duke, Cooper Flagg right now, he's been the talk of college basketball. And I think Duke and Houston, that's going to be – it doesn't really matter what's the national championship's going to be because you got all 4 number 1 seeds. First time that's happened since 2008. And this is –
And, by the way, you know where that one was at?
That was in San Antonio.
That was in San Antonio.
How about that? San Antonio. Yeah.
But these have been the 4 best teams, Richard. On the flip side, I think the best team right now is Duke. What they did to Alabama, they took their lunch money, took their girlfriend, took their pride away. And I never thought Alabama was a real contender for a national championship. They would have had to stay hot the entire tournament. Have we seen teams do that before? Yes.
Absolutely.
But they also didn't play a defensive team like Duke, and they just took them out of their game. Cooper Flagg. Concanople's really been the star that no one's talked about in this NCAA tournament. And Houston, that Tennessee-Houston game, I thought it was going to be a knockout, drag-out, defensive battle, low-scoring, 50-49 type game. And Houston played the best half of basketball I've seen anyone play in that first half. And then the second half, Tennessee was not able to overcome being down by 25. And Houston ends up making it. Kelvin Sampson, Duke, you talking about bodies colliding and high flying. Florida and Auburn, 2 of the best offensive teams in the country. This is what NCAA tournament and college basketball needed. All eyes will be on San Antonio. I got Auburn Duke in the national championship game. I'm not going to say who's going to win it because I don't want to jinx the team I really want to win it. But I think Auburn takes down Florida. But what do you got, Richard?
I got
for early prediction. We'll give another one later on. Early.
Putting me on
Where
the
are you
spot.
leaning right now?
I got Auburn Houston.
Oh, you got Houston pulling off the upset.
Houston has won 30 games. They're last 3-4 years, and they got to the Final Four in 2021. And Kelvin Sampson. I mean, first of all, there's going to be a first-time champion for coach.
A head coach,
not
a program.
Not a program, but a head coach. Yeah, let me rephrase
Florida's
that.
got 2 of them. Duke, they got 5. And Houston and Auburn would both be winning.
Yeah,
they've each
never
coach,
had one.
you're right,
Yeah.
would be getting their first national championship.
But I think that Houston, they are so committed to defense. They're going to find a way to frustrate Cooper Flagg, Tyrese Proctor. And I know that Duke has been rolling everybody. You remember last year? I know Duke didn't have Cooper Flagg last year. You remember R.J. Burns in that lead 8 and NC State ended up frustrating Duke?
DJ Burns. Yeah,
DJ Burns.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I got his name
So
wrong.
you think DeJuan Roberts, which, again, if you look at the defense of the Houston team, I think they have the experience, the depth, and the coaching to be able to overcome the athleticism and skill playmakers of the Duke Blue Devils. But we'll have plenty of time to dissect that.
Plenty.
The NCAA tournament as a whole, SEC dominated. Half the Sweet 16 was SEC. Half the Elite Eight was SEC, and half the Final Four is SEC. And guess what? We are guaranteed to have an SEC team in the national championship. This was the year of the SEC, and it goes back to when Josh Pate, I was on his show early in his tenure at Columbus State in 2013. He asked me, why does the SEC suck at basketball? It was atrocious. It was bad. Florida was consistent with Billy Donovan, Calipari with Kentucky, and then every now and then you had Vanderbilt, Tennessee being competitive. But the SEC as a whole was a joke, and it was a mandate by Greg Sankey to every university, spend money on basketball and go out and get some big-time coaches. Rick Barnes, Calipari, Nate Oates, Bruce Pearl, and the likes of. You're seeing now the SEC reap the benefits of finally investing, and now they have a chance to be the best basketball conference, I think, for quite some time.
Absolutely.
Who would have thought that 10, 12 years ago when all the onus was about football except for Kentucky? Okay, no one really cared about it, and Billy Donovan was just a really good coach at Florida, and everyone else starting to catch back up. I think this has been great for college basketball. I think this tournament's been great for college basketball, and I can't wait for the Final Four. Any final thoughts before we move on?
I'm excited that we've got all 4 number 1 seeds. This is really what I should have picked in my bracket.
Should have went chalk, Rich.
I should have went chalk. I'm disappointed in Tennessee. Another Elite 8 disappointment.
Never made a Final Four.
This was the year. History. Yeah, Tennessee needed to get to the Final Four, and they no-showed against Houston.
Zakai Ziegler gone, Lanier gone, Milicic gone. So now they're losing a lot of star players that have been there for quite some time, just like last year. I do think Rick Barnes goes to the transfer portal and reloads, and they'll be fine. But I agree with you. This was set up for them to make it to the Final Four, and they still couldn't. We're hammering down high prices again this month, and there's over 500 new and used cars right here on the lot. You can take a test drive today. Plenty of sales staff here. They're going to take care of you at Glynn Smith Chevrolet GMC. And before you even get here, check out their awesome website, glennsmith.com. That's glennsmith.com. You can see all the inventory and see why they've slashed over 100 pre-owned vehicles, trucks, SUVs, and why everybody says, Richard,
get ready to smile.
We're going to take one final break, and when we come back, we'll wrap it up where we're going to be for the rest of this week. And I know we said we're going to talk Braves. Everybody,
calm down, please.
Calm down. We'll wrap it up where we're going to be this week, and we'll save NBA for Wednesday here on the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Show.
You're watching right now the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Games left.
Get your grills out this summer with Pepsi, the official beverage of Grills Night Out.
I'm always on the go. But with the Kinetic Credit Union app, Kinetic is always with me. The Kinetic mobile app is virtual banking at its best. With the Kinetic mobile app, I can easily send and receive money, make a deposit, pay some bills, and I can even open up a new account, all from my phone. And I can monitor all my accounts in one place, all on the go. The Kinetic mobile app, energized banking at its best.
Kinetic Credit Union, the energy for your dreams.
Can you send me some? Dang it. I was trying to get my mom to send me some. Kinetic Credit Union, Gordy Highcamp, Buffalo Rock Pepsi, Glynn Smith. How corny was that?
Yeah, I do want to say, I seriously thought you were on the phone. I started muting you.
I freaked him out, too.
But I mean, it was a Kinetic Credit Union commercial. It was the wrong commercial.
And then it was the wrong commercial. It wasn't even the mom commercial, too.
But Mom, send me money.
But Mom, please send me some money. All right, let's move on and talk about where we're going to be this week. So we said, it's funny, the sun
is out. I can't believe it.
They canceled the Glenwood Northside game. So nothing tonight other than this show right now. We won't have anything else. Tuesday, we have Northside Shaw at 2 p.m. and then Columbus Glenwood at 5:30. And at 11 o'clock, it's media day for the Columbus Clingstones. They came out with their opening day roster.
Yes, they did.
We will have our show on Sports Visions in the morning, home of the Columbus Clingstones, me and DJ Jones. We'll have that on Monday, Richard. At 6 o'clock, 6 to 9 on Sports Visions 92.1 FM. And then we're going to leave, me, you, and DJ, and we're going to head over to Synovus Park at 11 a.m. and go to Media Day. For Media Day, we got to do the Northside Shaw baseball game, and then Columbus and Glenwood later that night. Wednesday, Lions, and of course the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show and Muskogee County Coaches Show, hopefully. And then on Thursday, we got CVCC softball and baseball, both doubleheaders at the same time. And Glenwood, Lee Scott softball, April the 3rd. And then April the 4th, Friday, we have Glenwood, Lee Scott doubleheader baseball, Harris County Eufaula doubleheader baseball, and Abbeville Christian Glenwood boys and girls soccer. Nothing on Saturday except for cheering for those Auburn Tigers against Florida. And Rex Castillo is getting married. So
there you go. Congratulations.
For that. And then on Sunday, we start all over again for a busy week next week. By the way, I also want to shout out Brandon Schwabel, one of our producers. Happy birthday to him. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Brandon.
Expecting him and his lovely wife, Abby, are expecting a newborn here in the next couple of weeks. So we're anxiously waiting for that, and hopefully he'll be back joining the team in the not-too-distant future. So we've got a busy week here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live.
Yes, and by the way, the Columbus Clingstones, they will play this Friday in Montgomery against the Montgomery Biscuits, and you could hear that game. Jack Johnson will be on the call on Sports Visions 92.1 FM. They got the opening day roster. I got the roster in front of me. I think I recognize Blake Burkhalter, Drew Hackenberg. Some of the prospects that I've been following in the Braves organization, a lot of them are at AAA. We're going to see transactions. Players are going to move up to AAA. You're going to have players from single A Augusta come up to AA. It's going to be just exciting. I'm going to try to do an analyst on all these players I see in front of me on the Clingstones roster.
Well, we can't wait for you to break it down for us.
We'll break it down. That's
Big Rich, as always, we appreciate you and what you do for Georgia Alabama Sports Live. All right, soccer update on Wednesday show. We'll also have our NBA kind of like final preview as we head into the playoffs. Any other final thoughts on the NCAA tournament as we get closer and closer to that Final Four matchup? And then we will anything else we can think of or happening around locally here in the wonderful world of sports, we'll keep you up to date. From Richard Holdridge, I'm Thrift Barringer. Thank you again to Glynn Smith Chevrolet GMC. Go to glynsmith.com, and we'll see you next time here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show.
Thank you for watching the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show presented by Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. You're ready to smile.